So, fairly rapidly here. I mean, we're going to make it really tough for you guys. Daniel, 2018, are we optimistic or otherwise? What's going down?
Ryan, those who've heard me speak know that I like to give realistic presentations of where we're at, not to talk up what's happening, but to really consider not only South Africa, but also what's happening in the world from a political and economic point of view, and also the African continent. Now, I think there are a number of fairly positive forces this year that look that little bit better than last year. So in the presentations that I'm doing now for corporates, I do feel as though I can breathe a considered moderate sigh of relief, in a sense, that the global economy is looking relatively healthy, but that's depending on when you bought your Bitcoin or not, I must tell you, but it's looking relatively healthy. The African economy also looks as though it's starting to turn the corner from a rough couple of years. I mean, you know, Ethiopia are going to do 8% GDP growth this year. Ghana, 8% GDP growth. That's remarkable. We in this country are only going to do 1% more or less, if we are lucky, GDP growth. We are lagging entirely other parts of the continent. But for those businesses that are exposed outside of South Africa, global and continental Africa excluding us, I think the tide has turned. Now, for most of us, clearly the issue, Ryan, is South Africa and our immediate future. And there, I think there is an important change that's taken place. Clearly, the election of Ramaphosa does offer the chance for a fresh start, for renewal. And renewal is going to be the big issue for the ANC. You're going to hear that term a lot. And the ANC will try and sell, of course, itself on the basis of the fact that they are getting rid of the dead wood and the disasters of the recent few years, and that renewal is going to be the story to propel them into the election campaign next year. Economically, this really is the core issue. We've got rising unemployment in South Africa, rising unemployment and rising poverty levels as well. We should have reduced poverty in this country, which we did until 2011. But from 2011 till now, this economic malaise that we've had simply has seen poverty levels rise again. So the economic challenge is huge for us, but I believe leadership change provides a positive sentiment driver, not only for the ANC, but I believe for the broader South Africa as well this year.
All right, Daniel, so if I can press you, on a scale of 1 to 10, from an optimistic point of view, where should we be?
Well, if I was 3.5 last year, I would say I'm on a 6 this year, Ryan.
Not bad, Daniel. Not 6 is pretty damn good considering the last
for me it
years.
is.
Absolutely. All right, great. And then Nomboniso, your take, following from what Daniel says, where do you stand?
Well, there's no doubt about the fact that this year we are looking at a slightly better political mood in South Africa than we did last year and the year before. Changes in the ANC have an impact on the country because the ANC is the ruling party. So, as Daniel Silke said, the election of Ramaphosa and some of the people that are serving in that leadership is sending very positive signals. Already, the asset forfeiture unit is zoning in on the Gupta assets and Gupta-related assets. Hopefully, that money will come back into the national kitty. We hear that Richard Mdluli, those who know the saga of this man in the police, that he has now been fired. Of course, the problem is that he has not yet been charged. Here's a problem. 2018 is a year before elections. The ANC is going to try very hard to recover some ground that it had lost. Opposition parties have not had the vision to develop how they're going to deal with putting themselves on the map. They've pretty much piggybacked on the weaknesses of the ANC. So we see the DA, and I'm in Cape Town, it's pulling itself apart. We're nearing day zero. There is no strategy to deal with the water crisis. The aquifers that we are going to be relying on more and more have been in existence for more than 1,000 years, for more than thousands of years. It is now said that if we get those aquifers, we'll finish that water in 6 years. DA has no strategy, pulling itself apart in Western Cape and in Port Elizabeth. Question is, what is going to be the implication of this on 2018 elections? I think it's important that you as citizens, that all of us as citizens acknowledge the fact that we, in fact, have pushed the ANC to be where it is and to make the decisions that it has made. I think it's important that we insist that President Zuma and his acolytes actually face trials, and that in this country we can no longer afford to say a man who has treated us with indignity, our economy and our society should be allowed to live in a dignified way. He can live in a dignified way, but that does not mean he doesn't face the country's courts. That applies to the DA, because there's also wrongdoing there. That applies to everybody else. Most importantly, you as Corporate South Africa, what is your role in ensuring that corruption comes to an end in this country? That's it.
We all have a part to play, indeed.
Yeah.
So we have politics, we have economy. These are two things that always affect business. But in today's world, technological innovation is affecting all of us. It's impacting all of us. It's impacting business, which is why we have the tour guide to the future. Mr. Pieter Geldenhuys, technologically speaking, 2018.
Ryan, I think this year, a number of companies are going to explore the future in brand new ways, and specifically, we're at the cusp of the next big thing. So the previous big things, the internet, tablets, smartphones. For the last 5 years, people ask me, Pieter, what's the next big thing? We've got enough information to make the call. Yes, the next big thing is not going to be a gadget. The next big thing is going to be invisible. The next big thing is going to be all around us. And you guessed it, it's going to be called an UPA. Yes, the ubiquitous personal assistant. Or rather, one of these. You see, this little device is going to be all around us. It's going to be built into your car, into your fridge. You simply talk to it, and it responds. More than 95% of words are now recognized by machine learning, and this will redefine the future. Our next interface to the internet will not be touch, but voice. It is changing everything. Right now, we're busy working on a little principle where if you're in a dangerous situation, you simply say, Alexa, trigger emergency, and help's on the way. No panic buttons, nothing. So we're moving into a space where everything will be defined, your world will be controlled by this new ecosystem. Wonderful opportunities, massive growth. What we're also seeing is that organizations are going to be creating the future. And one of the initiatives is that we're building an ecosystem of the 100 top futurists from around the world, predicting what news headlines will look like in the not too distant future. It's where you read the news before it happens. We'll launch in about 2 months, but we put some tasters on just for interest's sake. We believe in the next year you'll be able to create a photo identikit based on DNA alone. We believe that Bitcoin, this was predicted a couple of months ago, will crash, and this will lead to a massive increase in cybercrime because of resident computing power that's now available, which will lead to the refoundation of a new focus on internet security based on physics, not on mathematics. We believe that DNA will now be the foundation of dating websites, making sure that your kids don't get hereditary diseases. So the short list of people will now be linked to your matchability of DNA. We predict that Groupon in the sky will roll out at Emirates, where you can bid on products and everyone around you then bids, oh, there's only 50 left. What? Only 20 left. And that means that based on their technology, their infrastructure, and their market share, they'll open up new opportunities that never existed before. Acceptation, by the way. And then finally, we also predict that your watch around your arm will look at your heart rate, compare it with heart rates of other people that had a heart attack, and then warn you before you get the heart attack, half an hour before it happens. Precognition. These are the predictions we make, a few of them. Log onto our website, headlinesfromthefuture.com, if you want to be updated on the newest thinking. But the second important part is that people will start to create the future, not only predict it, and that's what we've been doing at the Institute for the last 15 years. More than 3,000 students, more than 100 innovation projects in Africa, India, and the Middle East. It's all about creating the future, not about predicting it. And the understanding is that the world is complex, it's difficult. It's more about navigating the future in a complex space rather than not. And that leaves us about 40 seconds where my fellow panel members can throw in their last bit if they want to.
Closing statement, Daniel.
Well, I got it right in terms of calling Ramaphosa, I must tell you, for the last 6 months with clients. And if ever I have been tense, I must tell you, as an analyst, it was watching that ANC elective conference, because I was worried about the recall, not just of Jacob Zuma, but of my speaker feeds over the course of the last 6 months to clients. So let me just tell you, for all of the predictions, I suspect all of us here are pretty good with being authoritative. Pieter, all of us, 3 speakers here, who can do that job, we generally get it right.
10 seconds, Nomboniso.
I don't, but I'm okay with it.
Don't deny it, Pieter.
Nomboniso, go.
Pieter likes saying that he doesn't like politics, he doesn't do politics, but actually there's no way that this technological advance can happen without politics. Politics is what makes society go, as well as the economy. So I think it's going to be very important to watch what is happening in the political space and also to participate in that political space. As a people who are invested in this, influence that political space and keep the pressure on Ramaphosa and everybody so that they don't take us for granted.
Keep them
ever
accountable.
Again.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Daniel, Nomboniso, and Pieter, thank you very much.